Disco, disco, and more disco. Billboard's Hot 100 of September 15th, 1979, as disco begins to reach its peak. Going back to 1979, a lot of groups got into the disco thing, including the Beach Boys. They remade one of their album cuts from the 60s and put a disco beat into it called Here Comes the Night. It was one of the most scintillating disco records I've ever heard. I flipped over that record by the Beach Boys, Here Comes the Night by the Beach Boys. That was in early 1979, but that did not make top 40 for them, unfortunately. Now we get into another act that goes back to the 50s. Had their first hit record in 1959, going disco 20 years later, off the Scotty Brothers Atlantic record label. It is the Idrisi Brothers with Ghost Dancer at number 47. No, actually at number 45, up from 47 the previous week. It would peak at number 45. Obviously, a lot more of a club hit than a commercial hit. Couldn't find a short version of Ghost Dancer by the Idrisi Brothers. They sound a bit like the Bee Gees on this particular record. They came from an acrobatic family. Their mom and their dad, they were into acrobats. Did I pronounce that right? Acrobats. But Dick and Donna Dreesy decided to pursue music as a living. They moved to California. They got some help from Lenny Bruce. And they auditioned for acting parts. They auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club. Dick and Donna Dreesy, but they were rejected. But they got a deal with Bob Keene's record label. It was the Delphi record label, and they came out with Cherry Stone, which was probably their biggest hit back in the late 50s. And they came out with some sides. They came out with newer sides in the 60s and 70s, but they only had about three or four hits. The Idrisi Brothers, maybe five. A lot of them small hits. But in 1967, they wrote "Never My Love," and it killed it. The associations covered it. It was a monster hit. Dick and Donna Dreesy got a huge shot in the arm from that record. The sad, well, gosh, I hate to say it. The sad thing about it, though, is the Dreesy brothers covered that song themselves, Never My Love, in 1977 or 78. And I guess it was all right. I just didn't, maybe one of the cheesier remakes. But the thing is, they came out with so many fantastic records, though. Well, they came out with quite a few great records. There was Cherry Stone from the late 50s. That was a classic sock op hit. And in 1972, the winter of 1972, we got to get it on again, work it out together. Remember that? It seemed like you go back to the winter, you go back to March, April of 1972. It seemed like the Idrisi brothers just came right out of the blue. You come up to a top 40 listener in 1972 and you'd say, these guys, they had a hit back in 59 called Cherry Stone, and the guy would look at you like, what? You mean those guys go back that far? I thought they just came out. 5 years later, oh God, they came out with another killer record, but it was not that big, the Idrisi Brothers. It was called Slow Dancing, Don't Turn Me On. Yes. The AM top 40 stations, they were blowing this thing out for about a month or two. Late spring, going into the summer of 1977. This was the same era as Undercover Angel by Alan O'Day, Ariel by Dean Freeman, Do You Want to Make Love or Do You Just Want to Fool Around by, was it Peter McCann? And, Boogie Nights by Heatwave, Just Over the Horizon. Oh boy. Well, anyway, and they came out with Ghost Dancer in 1979. Only got as high as number 45, though. The Idrisi brothers. One of the Don Idrisi was the one who died of cancer of the pancreas, in 1984. The Idrisi brothers with Ghost Dancer.